Have you ever really thought about the ripple effect? You know, how one small action in one tiny spot can create waves that spread out and have this massive impact all over the world? Well, that's exactly what we're diving into today.
And we're not just talking in abstracts. We're going to get super specific by asking this one question. How can just one academic, based in Indonesia, actually end up influencing the entire world?
So, how are we going to figure this out? No guesswork, no speculation here. We're just going to follow the data. Think of it as a data-driven detective story, from start to finish. All right, so every ripple has to start somewhere, right? A single point. And that's exactly where our journey begins. Let's start with a researcher from a city called Palembang. So let's meet him. Our story starts with a real person, Budi Setiawan. He's a researcher at Universitas Indo Global Mandiri in Palembang, Indonesia. We're zooming all the way in on this one individual because this is the epicenter. This is where the ripple starts. Okay, so we know who we're talking about. The next logical question is, what exactly is he researching? What's his passion? Let's decode his research. His main thing is financial technology, or what you probably know as fintech. You know, all the tech that's changing how we bank, invest, and pay for things. That's really the heart of his work. But he's not just looking at the tech for tech's sake. He's got a very specific angle. A huge theme you see again and again in his work is financial inclusion. He's asking, how can we use all this new technology to bring more people who've been left out, into the formal financial system? And he's not studying this in some ivory tower either. He's looking at it in the real world under pressure. A big part of his research is about what happens during major economic shocks. Think about the COVID-19 pandemic or other big global events. How do these fintech systems actually perform when things get tough? And you can see all these ideas just click together perfectly in the title of one of his actual papers. It's called Quest for Financial Inclusion via Digital Financial Services, Fintech, during COVID-19 pandemic, case study of women in Indonesia. I mean, look at that. It's all there. Fintech, inclusion, the pandemic shock, and even a specific focus on women in Indonesia. It's the whole story in one title. Okay, so the ideas are clearly important and timely. But are they going anywhere? How far do these ripples actually travel? That's what we're going to measure next. So you have this incredibly focused research being published. But here's the big question. Is anyone actually paying attention? Is it making a real impact out there in the world? All right, let's get back to the data. First up, the foundation of his work. He's authored 13 documents that are cataloged in the Scopus database. So that's the body of work we're looking at. Okay, but now, this is where the ripple really starts to spread. Those 13 documents, they've been cited 516 times by other researchers. Just think about that. That's hundreds of other scientists and academics around the world saying, hey, this idea is important, and building their own work on top of his. Now, this leads us to something called an H-index, which for him is 11. So what on earth is that? Well, it's actually a pretty clever way to measure both how much you publish and how much impact it has. An H-index of 11 means he has 11 papers that have each been cited at least 11 times. It's not a one-hit wonder. It shows consistent, sustained influence. And get this, it's not just about the raw number of citations. It's about where his work ranks. An absolutely staggering 83.3% of his papers are in the top quarter, the top 25% of the most cited research in the world. That is huge. It means his work isn't just getting cited, it's considered top tier by the global community. Okay, and if you're not impressed yet, hold on. There's this other metric called the field-weighted citation impact. His is 5.09. To put that in perspective, a score of 1 is the world average. His score means his work is cited over 5 times more often than the average paper in his field. That's not a ripple anymore, that's a wave. But here's a really important point. This kind of impact doesn't happen in a silo. Modern research is a team sport. Which brings us to his global research network. So far, he's worked with 34 different co-authors. 34! That's not just a list of names. That's a network. It's a community of experts all sharing and pushing these ideas forward together. And check this out. Where are these collaborators from? This chart says it all. A massive 83.3% of his partnerships are international. So when you think about it, his lab isn't just a building in Palembang. It's a network that literally spans the globe.
So you've got this global network creating these high-impact ideas. But to what end? What's the point of it all? This is our final, biggest zoom out. They're answering a global call. And this is where it all comes home. This is the real world's so what? His research maps directly onto the UN's Sustainable Development Goals. You know, the big list of the world's most pressing problems. Look at this. 11 of his papers are helping with decent work and economic growth. Another 5 help tackle no poverty, and 5 more address reduced inequalities. This is proof that his work isn't just for academics. It's aimed squarely at making a real, tangible difference in the world. So, wow, what a journey. We follow the data from a single person all the way out to a global scale. Let's bring it all back home and talk about the impact of the individual.
So let's just trace that ripple one last time. It all started with just one researcher, right? He zeroed in on a really specific, relevant problem. His focus created incredibly high-impact work that other people wanted to build on. That work helped him build a global team. And that team is now working together to help solve some of the world's biggest problems. It's the whole story, from a single point to a powerful global ripple.
This whole thing just goes to show you the incredible power that can come from a single person with a focused idea. And if the data from just one researcher can tell a story this compelling, this powerful, it really makes you wonder, doesn't it? What story does your data tell?